Thank you. This is the October 22nd regular meeting of the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission. Called to order at 6:01 p.m. on said date. Roll call. Matt Gifford.
Present, Alan.
Thank you. Laura Jones.
Present.
Alan Kibbe is present. Jeff Mangles, I don't believe will be here. Chris McDonald.
Present.
Mike Matthews will not be here tonight. John Pinto.
Present.
Chris White. Just in time. I see you there, sir. And Don Remsen.
Present.
Thank you. So, as is our tradition, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. That was almost mistake. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty and justice for all. As you were. Thank you very much. Amelia, do we have any public participants?
We have one hand raised already, but if anyone else would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen. And you should have all received an email from Diane Lortella earlier today that Alan forwarded to everyone. So Diane, I'll give you permission to speak. Just state your name, address, and agenda item.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'll lower the hand. Okay, for the record, good evening, Chairman Kibbe and commissioners and staff. For the record, my name is Diane Lortella, 21 Little Fox Lane. Tonight, I wanted to speak to the matter relating to the East Norwalk, I believe it's a naming rights for the basin. And then also just about the minutes related to the special meeting. I just wanted to ask that each of you please pardon some of my grammatical errors in the email I sent. I did it on the fly on my way to a conference, but I just mainly wanted to state that I do value the work that this commission does. However, there are certain strictures, again, that must be followed. And Attorney Callahan did send me a response. I respectfully disagree with his assertions that this was done correctly. So I will try to have a meeting with him because I was quite surprised that he felt his words or his advice to you was correct. It just isn't. I know a lot about freedom of information, but the main reason I wanted to speak is to say that I believe that I've read now that Tony Mobilia, his name will be placed up for a naming of the basin. And my being an original, one of the original commissioners, Tony came on the commission, and ever since I knew him back as early as when Bill Collins was mayor, that's how I was appointed. And I know that he had worked tirelessly in having, and I just want to highlight briefly two things that I know that he really was a champion of. There were many others, some of you on this commission still, some have long passed, and that is the issue relating to dredging our harbor. That is a periodic thing, and I know he spent a lot of time doing backflips and arm wrestling with the Army Corps of Engineers and others over the years to try to talk some sense into them, etc. Secondly, he was, I believe, one of the proponents and advocates for putting in some green infrastructure between Lockwood Matthews Mansion and I-95 and the near the circular ramp of the Super 7. And he spent a lot of time on things like that. So I think it would be a wonderful thing to show gratitude and also make sure that the public knows and can ask questions. I would hope there would be a plaque explaining Tony's service. So with that, thank you. Have a good evening, and thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah.
Thank
Excuse
you,
me.
Diane.
And again, it was clarification. It wasn't the basin, it was the marina.
The marina, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Thank you, Diane. Your comments are noted. Amelia, anyone else?
No, their hands are raised, so I believe that is it for public comment tonight.
Thank you very much. Moving forward to the acceptance of the minutes, Laurie, would you like to take it here? You've got 2 minutes to vote on.
That's correct. So the first minutes that we have for acceptance, Amelia, can you put them up? It's the regular meeting minutes. So the changes made since you guys have seen them are noted in red. I see one additional, Amelia, which is in the regular meeting minutes. The word regular is misspelled, so that should change right up top in the title. Yeah.
Noted. I'll make
And then,
that change.
okay. And then I've tried to institute a habit of just naming the attendees as well as the commissioners who were unavailable to attend, just so that when somebody can look at this, they'll know whether or not the full commission was at the meeting. So I recommend that we do that. And then others, Owen Lee was there. Apparently that was missed. And then scrolling down, Shellfish, there was actually no report. And then scrolling down, there was just a clarification that he meant Harbor Master Lavallo. So with those amendments, is there a motion to approve these minutes? Thank you, Dr. Pinto. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Don. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, so those are the regular meeting minutes, and then we have the special meeting minutes for approval, the October 8th. My only recommendation on this is to add the absent note of commissioners, which would include Matt Gifford and Chris White. Other than that, is there a motion to approve these minutes? Thank you, Don. Second, Chris McDonald. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that's it on the minutes.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you. I would also just like to comment that and have it reflected in the record that no votes or other actions were taken during the executive session meeting. So if that could be added to the minutes, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, and Alan, I'm just going to say, oops, yeah.
It does, it
Under
is reflected in the minutes you just approved. It does clarify that no actions were taken in the
It does.
executive session.
Under adjournment,
Yes.
it says no actions were taken.
Right. And
So
I just
that is
clarified it
reflected.
again. I would like that reflected too in the minutes
In
tonight.
the minutes for this meeting?
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right, that's the end of the secretary report.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Moving on to application review, Dr. Pinto.
I mute myself here. No, thank you very much, Chairman Gibby. The application review committee has reviewed, we have 4 applications this evening, and I was going to go through them in the order of which we certainly have acquired them. The first is from the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is a text amendment on application 2025-63R, which is to review the proposed zoning text amendments outlined in the Planning and Zoning memo that was sent to us on September 26th. And the amendments for consideration that they asked us to review were the use of corrugated or steel sheet metal in this SDL1 zone, artists to live and work use in a density workplace housing exemptions. They have talked about sports field uses and lighting and audio standards and driveway width flexibility, dumpster screening requirements, fence height, industrial zones, and exemption of single-family homes from streetscape requirements. And so with regard to the first comment, I sort of try to be as brief as possible because there was quite a few of points that they wanted us to review. The use of corrugated and steel metal in this particular zone While the proposed allowance is limited to industrial uses, the use of untreated and poorly maintained metal siding may contribute to stormwater runoff and contamination. And what the application review committee met with Mr. Gifford, Mr. McDonald, and myself discussing these applications, that we're bringing forward the following recommendation based on the use of corrugated material. And our recommendation is to require that corrugated sheet metal used in coastal or harbor adjacent areas be coated or treated to prevent corrosion and leaching. Stormwater management plans should include filtration and treatment measures to protect water quality. That was the first recommendation forward. The next one dealt with the artists live and work in this particular area. And the proposed exemptions may encourage, as we point out in this area here, the proposed exemptions may encourage increased residential density in an area near the waterfront and floodplain. And our recommendation to the commission this evening is to evaluate whether these exemptions could lead to increased impervious surfaces or wastewater generation in the coastal zone, and to consider requiring green infrastructure and stormwater mitigation for such developments within this coastal boundary. That's that second issue. The third issue dealt with the sports field uses and lighting. And this goes back also to some of the comments that we'd made during progress at Calf Pasture Beach with regard to lighting, excessive lighting in the coastal area. And the recommendation that we were bringing forward, the proposed lighting standards are commendable. However, additional review may be warranted for fields near sensitive coastal habitats. And so we require that, so the recommendation we make to the commission is that require that sport field lighting and audio systems within 1,000 feet of the coastal resources undergo additional review for ecological impacts, particularly on migratory birds and aquatic species. And the fourth item was driveway width flexibility. And the wider driveways may increase impervious surface and stormwater runoff. And so our recommendation to the commission is that we include for driveways exceeding standard widths in the coastal or harbor adjacent zones, require permeable paving and stormwater infiltration systems to mitigate the runoff. That's the fourth item. The fifth item dealt with dumpster screening requirements, and the proposed requirement for rear yard placement and screening is a positive step. But our recommendation would be to ensure that the dumpster pads are constructed with impervious surface and secondary containment to prevent leaching from entering storm drains or coastal waters. And then dealing with fence height in industrial zones, increased fence height may reduce visual access to the waterfront and limit public oversight of industrial activities. And this goes back also to other issues that we had with regard to the East Naug Village District, where we had building in and around the harbor. And that, as far as the recommendation that we're going to bring forward to the commission, in coastal view corridors or harbor facing parcels, consider maintaining lower fence heights and requiring transparent fencing materials to preserve the visual access to public interest. And the last comment we asked was exemption of single family homes from landscape requirements. Exempting new single family homes from providing street trees or planter strips may reduce stormwater infiltration and green infrastructure in the coastal neighborhoods. And what we recommend to the planning and zoning is that they require at least minimum green infrastructure, for example, rain gardens or tree wells for single family homes within the coastal boundary. So those are the recommendations that we are making with regard to that particular amendment proposal for planning and zoning. Any of the commissioners have any comment or?
No, I think you did a great job, John. Everything we wrapped up.
So we'd have to hear a recommendation for acceptance or move forward with this application. We want to make a recommendation. What would the recommendation be, John? The recommendation would be to go along with all the recommendations that we gave. For example, I gave there's 7 recommendations there. We do agree with making those recommendations to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I make a motion that we forward those 7 recommendations to planning and zoning in response to their amendments.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The opposition? 10, okay, thank you. The second application from Planning and Zoning is again another amendment application. It's 2025-68R, and this is placed by Paul and Mary Kozias. And that they asked us to review the amendments for consideration as the coastal boundary considerations, visual character of the waterfront, and resilience to flood-prone areas. And so the first one dealing with coastal boundary considerations, if, for example, they asked us to comment on that if any portion of the CD3W zone lies within the coastal boundary, the use of vinyl siding may raise concerns related to microplastic pollution from materials degraded over time and stormwater runoff carrying siding fragments and chemical residues into the coastal waters. And the recommendation that we would make, we have three recommendations for this this particular proposal. Where applications require that vinyl siding installations within the coastal boundary include a maintenance plan and utilize siding certified for coastal durability to minimize environmental degradation. That's our first recommendation we're making to the commission. The second one involved the visual character of the waterfront. And so we talked about vinyl siding, even when premium grade may not align with historic and maritime character of the Norwalk's waterfront neighborhoods. So the recommendation we would make with that regard to a requirement is that in areas where visual access to the harbor or within designated view corridors, consider requiring architectural review or alternative facade materials to preserve the visual integrity of the coastal environment. The last one dealt with resilience in flood-prone areas, and they talked about vinyl siding may be less resilient to storm surge, salt spray, and flooding compared to other materials such as fiber cement and masonry. Our recommendation to the commission for presentation to planning and zoning is that in flood-prone or storm surge zones, encourage or incentivize the use of more resilient materials to support long-term coastal resilience. Those are the three recommendations we would present to the commission.
Do a little clarification. What is this? This is from planning and zoning. This is something. What is? I don't understand what these recommendations are stemming from.
This is from planning and zoning sent for a text amendment for this application that was, it was to review the proposed premium grade vinyl siding for single family and two family detachment dwellings in a CD3W zone with specific materials standards. And the amendments for consideration were coastal boundary considerations, visual character of the waterfront, and resilience in the flood prone area. That's what we're asked to comment on. So
this is from planning and zoning.
This is from planning and zoning. That's correct. So those are the three areas that we commented on. And so, as I said, the first one was the recommendation dealing with the coastal boundary considerations that were applicable require that vinyl siding installations within the coastal boundary include a maintenance plan and utilize siding certified for coastal durability to minimize environmental degradation. That's the one. And actually the third one goes pretty much in parallel to that, in that in flood-prone area or storm surge zones, encourage or incentivize the use of more resilient materials to support long-term coastal resilience. Those are. And based on our second character is the character of the waterfront in areas of visual access to the harbor or within designated view corridors, consider requiring architectural review or alternative facade material to preserve the visual integrity of the coastal environment. It's all relatively basically similar, but they asked us to comment on those three particular areas that were in that proposed amendment from them. Yes, Lori.
John, are those recommendations that you're reading, are those recommendations from the application review committee from Chris, Matt, and you?
All three of us reviewed all of the applications. So I'd like to make a recommendation that, again, moving forward, that we accept those recommendations for proposal to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to review them before. I thought I should have, but
that was on that list of review. Then
Matt, yeah, I know it was done, and so I didn't contribute to that, and I should have done that, but I'm a little struck by how the extent of the reach of these proposed zoning rules. One is a microplastic issue, the other is an aesthetic issue, and the other one is just durability of private property.
That was, again, that's what we're commenting on what.
No,
they-
I get that. So I'm not particularly in favor of these. If we're discussing it, we're in discussion now. Nothing. I haven't encountered other things in the zoning that goes to this sort of micromanagement level
All I was doing, well, actually, all
of materials.
trying to protect, again, the resiliency of the material close to the waterfront. That's that was in keeping also in contents what we had with the first proposal. And then making sure that the material that the building are using in the waterfront area doesn't certainly impose any problem with, for example, with water quality during degradation or deterioration. Any commissioners have any other comment or
Well, I think that's, it's Alan here, Don. I think that's kind of a stretch as well, as to putting those kinds of material limitations on it, particularly as we're an economy that's always developing new materials. It seems that creates a lot of work going forward as updating as new products come on the market and new materials are developed, that we kind of have to upgrade our specification there. So that creates an ongoing problem. I mean, there's just so many products.
and to bring awareness to the fact that for maintaining some sort of resiliency in coastal materials.
But
I don't know if any applications actually review that, but I thought perhaps based on our new motivation with regard to protecting the harbor and dealing also with certainly microplastics and degradation of material, that nothing gets it, basically minimize the effect on the harbor resources.
Right, but none of it's actually regulatory. It's all advisory, right?
It's
Which is
advisory.
really
It's advisory. That's all. It's not. We're not.
is other parts of the zoning code advisory. You should.
They would have to take that. These recommendations are for them to take some of the things in consideration, so that when they put their final product together, that at least those are under consideration. And I don't know exactly how they plan to use this material, but this is just calling attention to the concerns of the Harbor Management Commission, or what the Harbor Management Commission would consider to be a concern.
I see Don Remsen has his hand raised.
Don, oh yeah, Don, yes.
Yeah. I kind of agree with Chris and Alan. I mean, it seems like a far reach. I feel like we're kind of, getting into a territory I don't know if we really want to get into with zoning with this.
Well, not recommend. Actually, what we're doing is just making a recommendation that they may consider that. It's not that this is not a mandate of any sort. But if the commission feels as though they don't want to particularly micromanage, as you put it, in that regard, then we can certainly forego and just say that we have no comment with regard to that application.
Or no objection.
Or no objection to that application.
I mean, I think, John, from our comments and our review of this, that we do have feelings that we should at least make a comment. If they choose not to listen to those comments or adhere to them, that's up to them. But
well, that was my thinking basically when we first started reviewing these applications, because we did require that any application that dealt with building in and around the harbor within 1,000 feet of the harbor, based on the CAM application, that we review that with regard to what we feel is important for protecting the harbor. That was my main.
it's kind of black or white. Like we can't just comment on some things and not on others. It's kind of all or nothing, I think. Even though I agree that it's micromanaging some things, but that's what planning and zoning is getting into these days.
Well, as I said, what we're doing is responding to the amendments that were under consideration from planning and zoning. And so that's what I thought we were basically doing, is making certainly a recommendation for them to consider with regard to materials that exist.
So we basically were just saying, tell people to build nice houses in this place, please. And
Yeah.
Well, not so nice. They can build a nice house, but make sure that in a coastal plain area, that whatever the material that they use.
right. But we're just making recommendations for zoning to like none of this we're not setting anything in stone, right?
No, that's not, I don't think that,
Yeah, we don't have, yeah.
Correct.
No.
And like one of the comments that Dr. Pinto made was about, having metal, covered with certain components. Like that should be something they should have in their mandate, and they may or may not. It's just something that I think we need to have
I don't know,
as a
let's say-
reminder, at
basically
least from the Harbor Commission.
You know, as far
Well-
as telling individual family owners or industrial and builders that this is the type of material that they need to include. But this is something that bringing awareness to the fact that there's a possibility for the type of material that should be considered for protecting the environment in those particular regions, and that is dealing with the harbor. What they do on the land area, I'm not exactly sure, but this is a requirement if they build in and around 1,000 feet of the Norfolk Harbor.
Do we have data on, you know, good, bad, and good
Do we?
products and bad I don't know that we can want to be that
We don't have
specific.
data on that. We don't monitor that. I'm sure some engineering firm may have monitor that. I don't know about that, but these are considerations that we're in general that we should have them consider. If they do have that, I don't know. I'm sure a builder might have data that shows the extent of erosion of certain materials in and around the waterfront. I don't know that, but all we're asking is that they consider those types of materials when they do building in and around the waterfront.
So I was trying to get my head around what exactly the changes are and what we're looking at here. So I went and looked up what we got from planning and zoning. So
Mhm.
planning and zoning actually has a list of allowable building materials for this zone 3 CD3W, which I believe is the East Norwalk side of the harbor, right?
Yeah.
To be more specific.
Yeah.
They currently allow brick, natural stone, wood, cementitious siding, corrugated and or metal sheeting, authentic stucco over masonry, exposed concrete, aluminum siding, and now they are adding vinyl siding.
That's correct.
So vinyl siding is currently not allowed in CD3W. So what we're voting on is, well, A, whether to allow it, and B, whether to include all the recommendations John has made. That wasn't totally clear to me what the change is that they're asking us to comment on. So the change we're asking to comment on is, should vinyl siding be allowed to be an acceptable building product in the East Norwalk Commercial Waterfront District?
And that's where we talked about utilizing certified vinyl siding that perhaps can tolerate the invasiveness of salt and wind action in that particular area.
Are
Right.
there such products? Do we know what they are? I mean, I think again, that these are products that evolve daily and weekly, monthly is
Well,
time goes by.
the point is that the recommendation that we're making would be to make sure that they assure that those types of products are used. Whether
Yeah,
they,
so the recommendation we're making is no, don't let vinyl siding be added to the thing for these reasons, right?
no, not necessarily. No, vinyl siding can be protected with material that is resilient to salt and salt water and damage from storm runoff in near harbor.
Okay.
So
when I'm looking at this, the black is their proposed language, because they talk about the vinyl siding shall be a premium grade that is there's a thickness here, 0.046 millimeters and high or higher in thickness, and provides superior durability, impact resistance, and insulation comparable to standard vinyl. All other uses NP. Not sure what that means. I don't know. And then there's additional
permitted.
comments here that
NP means not permitted, Chris. And then just
not permitted.
some
Okay,
quick
thank you.
added context is it's only for single and two family houses within the CD3W zone. And for the most part, in all other zones, single and two families are able to use vinyl siding. So even on other properties that abut the water, vinyl siding is currently permitted, just not in the specific CD3W zone. So it looks like the person who applied for this text amendment is probably just trying to build a single family in the CD3W and wants to use vinyl siding.
Well, under those circumstances, then they should be required to use vinyl siding that's a little bit more resilient to storm water runoff and salt infiltration.
Yeah, John, you can't write a zoning requirement that
I'm not writing anything.
says that. You know, it's very- how do you put that into the?
Responding to the needs that they asked it to address. And I just said, where applicable, require that the vinyl siding installation within the coastal boundary include a maintenance plan or utilize siding certified for coastal durability. Okay. So, I mean, that's basically, so whether they allow that or not, I'm not sure. But, and
Or
that's,
if there is such a product, we don't know that either.
well, apparently, according to what Chris just mentioned, that they do have that such a product. I think Amelia had mentioned. Well,
Yeah,
didn't
the proposed language includes saying you shall be a premium grade with 0.046 millimeter thickness or thicker, provide superior durability, et cetera, et cetera. So they are putting a performance standard and a specification to a degree on this within the zoning, and that's what zoning is proposing. That's not John's language.
John, you had a question?
Yeah, you know, I'm the newest member on here, so my question just is, you know, we're a couple guys are reading off an email that came out. We're not privileged to that, right? So I mean, Chris just read it and got a different clarification than we're originally being told.
Well,
Is
This
there
is all on the memo from the Planning and Zoning Commission, Don, that's attached to the agenda.
Okay, I didn't see it.
It's
Okay,
on the
Okay.
second page, so they have like the existing conditions on the first page, and then the second page shows the revised table that would allow vinyl siding with that footnote.
okay, all right, thank you.
I have a question. Amelia, if vinyl siding is allowed in nearby neighborhoods, do we know why in planning and zoning vinyl siding has not been allowed in the 3DW or whatever this is?
I mean, I don't know exactly why. I'm sure just in 2024, when the zone was rewritten, the CD3W was thought of to be more of a water dependent commercial zone. They probably were not expecting that many single families to be built. And I'm sure that's why they did not want vinyl siding. I think for the most part, vinyl siding is permitted in primarily residential zones, and it's not permitted in like the industrial zones.
Well, like I said, Don, I apologize for you not being able to, haven't seen that application, but all those applications were sent to the commissioners prior to that. You know,
Are we
and
gonna be able to take an action on this, or should we table this till our next meeting when we have some more preparation, or do we, in this item,
we're prepared. I mean, I think
make make it no different recommendation? I don't,
you know, it's whatever the commission feels, you know, if,
Do we have time to table it till next time?
I don't, would have to ask Amelia. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's on P&Z's November agenda, which is the same night as your next meeting, which is the November 19th. I think that's on their agenda. So they'll likely decide on it you guys will have your meetings at the same time.
Well, like I said, these are recommendations that for the planning and zoning to consider. If they want to consider it, that's certainly up to them. If they don't want to consider it, you know, we are making a recommendation, or should make some sort of recommendation to them
Right.
based on what they asked us. That's all.
Or finding
you know,
no objection.
Or finding, or like, yeah, that's right. Or finding no objection to them.
finding no objection. I would opt for finding no objection is my feeling there.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the map. So this district is basically west of Cove and between First Street and Fourth Street. So Fifth Street all the way around through Marvin Beach, down to your club there, Alan. Forgetting the street names there. All of this is permitted. I'm assumingly, as if Amelia is indicating that it's only in that 4-block the waterfront district, the CD3W, that there's a prohibition on this material currently.
I'm not interested. I don't think the commission should be micromanaging everything, but as I said, I'm just in response to what they were requesting us to respond.
Right.
And
Yeah, if we find no objection, we should say that rather than
well, I'm not sure if we
having to say something.
matter of
It's like saying
consideration.
something.
It's a matter of as far as consideration. If they haven't considered it, that these are considerations. If they want to take those considerations for whatever value, that's certainly up to planning and zoning. Or maybe they even have other modifications in other parts of their plan or whatever that might address that. I don't know that. I'm just responding to what they submitted to us. So if we want to feel that we have no objection to their comments, that we do that, or we can just sort of make awareness that we feel that the commission feels that some sort of consideration should be made to the type of material. If they haven't done so already, I don't know if they've done that already. Some sort of consideration should be made to the type of material that is used in and near the waterfront, including vinyl siding and the resiliency of the vinyl siding that they plan, if they plan that at all. That's all.
Won't have a comment?
Well, let's vote on. So I make a motion that we send John's comments to planning and zoning.
For a second?
I'll second that.
Is it Don?
Well, it's a second, so now we vote, unless
Now
we
we
have more
vote.
discussion.
Just
Alright.
quickly
Chris,
before you all
second.
vote, it's not super important, but as a clarification, it is the CD3W is where Chris described it in East Norwood, but it is also on Rowayton Avenue, that southern part where the
Okay, thank you.
where that
Yep.
yeah, where some of the retail commercial is.
Nobody would put up anything that tacky in Rowayton. You're right, it's the water side of Rowayton Avenue too.
So it's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Gonna call the question, Sean?
All, well,
What's the motion? Restate the motion.
The
Restate
the
the motion.
motion is to forward the comments presented by John to
actually not by me, by the ARC review
the
committee.
by the application review committee to planning and zoning as stated by John.
And I
Moved
seconded
and
it.
seconded.
I seconded
So-
it.
Chris
No-
seconded.
And no discussion? Anyone? So call the question, John.
All right, well, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We have one. Chairman Kibbe? Opposed?
Oh.
right?
I'm in favor.
All in favor, okay. All right, like I said, this is not micromanaging, it's just calling attention.
No, I misspoke, John. I didn't realize how much the code was already micromanaging building materials and all. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate
apologies
the
for not having
clarification
reviewed
from
it better
everyone.
before.
All right. No, all right, thank.
Nick,
So
thanks,
those are,
John.
those are two applications from planning and zoning. And now we have, I guess we have, we have two individuals from, we have Mr. Cafaro and we have Mr., was it Atra? From 119 Gregory Boulevard. And this is a CAM application, and the applicant proposes a permanent structural repair to stabilize a deteriorating timber bulkhead on the east side of the property in the Cove Marine area, which is causing sinkholes and sedimentation into Long Island Sound. The project includes constructing a 540-foot of cast-in-place concrete slurry walls behind the existing bulkhead, using existing steel tiebacks and piles for reinforcement. The timber bulkhead and broadwalk would include or remain in place, avoiding work on the water side and protecting sensitive wetlands. Additional work includes sinkholes repair, lawn restoration within the irrigation, and implementation of the best management practices to control erosion and sediment. And the encapsulation plan ensures sediment remains contained and offering a long-term solution to prevent further environmental impact. And I guess open the floor to Mr. Cafaro or Mr. Atra with regard to the application itself. If you want to, I have some of the plans here, merely if I could, let's say.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinto. Just to introduce Corey, my name is Larry Cafaro. I am a resident of Charles Cove, 119 Gregory Boulevard. As many of you already know, Charles Cove is a condominium, common interest community consisting of 50 townhouses located in 8 buildings that surround Charles Creek and have a marina associated with it. We cover surround the creek on 3 sides. 2 of those sides and their bulkheads have already been addressed within the last decade to make sure they are stable and not leaking, if you will, or deteriorating. The bulkhead on the Island Drive side, the east side, has been failing somewhat, slightly. We want to repair it before it gets worse. We are.
Mr. Cafaro, can you see the diagram we have on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you're referring to the east side, which is this area in here.
That's correct. That's correct. And Mr. Atra, our engineer, will be glad to explain in detail. Obviously, we're looking for your approval. Our concern is obviously the integrity of the bulkhead and preventing any environmental impact, negative environmental impact from coming into Charles Creek and therefore the harbor and the sound. So we appreciate your attention and are hopeful for your approval of our plans. And with that, unless there's any questions of me, I turn it over to Mr. Atra.
Wait a minute, let me-
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Corey Atra, professional engineer with Gap Mountain. I live at 19 Old Mill Road, Jaffrey, New Hampshire. And I've been working at Charles Cove for the past, I'd say 15 years on bulkhead restoration and repairs. I'm familiar with the geotechnical conditions, with the environmental conditions. And we designed a slurry wall system for the east side. It's not all of the east side. We can't really use the slurry walls in and around the pool area for physical reasons. That'll have to be a different repair when it's time for that. But we broke this into 3 phases, which it may go as 1 phase, but at the time we designed this, it was designed in 3 phases of implementation. And essentially what happens with a slurry wall is you excavate from behind the existing timber bulkhead, drop in a heavy grade of filtered fabric. With that, you're repairing and removing all the sinkholes. And when I say sinkholes, the sinkholes are all along the colored lines you see here on, which is the east side of the tidal inlet. And do that excavation, drop in the heavy duty filter fabric, attach that to the back of the bulkhead. We considered 2 different conditions. One where I'll step back. The way the existing bulkhead is built, it's timber, and it has soldier piles in front of it, which also makes up the boardwalk. And it also has soldier piles driven behind them on the land side, tying back to what are called whales. These are horizontal boards, big, heavy boards that hold the lower section of the bulkhead, which is experiencing the highest pressure. What we're doing is we're going to excavate back. We inspected 2 or 3 of these tiebacks. They're in pretty good condition. Not a lot of oxidation going on. Cutting the tiebacks, welding on tension plates, building a slurry wall is essentially a concrete wall reinforced with epoxy coated rebar, pouring a leveling pad at the bottom of the excavation so that the workers can work safely, and then pouring the slurry wall. The existing bulkhead, the back of the existing bulkhead acts as a pour stop, and then they're what's called blind forming the front side of it and making the pour. This is a tidal zone, and so everything's tidal dependent. We've given consideration to what's called a tremie pour, which is a process by which you can pour concrete when you're underwater. But ideally, they're able to time this. They'll have 4-hour periods where they're able to time and pour this at low tide, where the water level is really below the bottom of the slurry wall. That's the scope of the project in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions, technical questions, or any other questions you have with the project.
Mr. Atchett, do you have the deep permits, COP, COPs or permits already in hand for this project?
I can address that. We went to the state and they said they don't have jurisdiction, and then that's because we're not in the Connecticut's jurisdictional line, and they deferred us to you to ask whether permits were required. So we reached out to Amelia, and she reviewed preliminary drawings with the staff, and so we finalized those drawings and sent them in to you guys for a permit.
So the work is not within the coastal jurisdiction line?
It is not.
That's quite interesting as a bulkhead on a tidal water body.
Yeah, that's interesting.
If that's the case, that's the case.
Yeah, so the coastal jurisdiction line is actually on the water side of the bulkhead. And if you and the state's position with us was, well, if you're not working on the water side of the bulkhead, we don't have jurisdiction. Norwalk may. That was the commentary we got from them.
Well, okay. Well,
Well, I would say then that the proposed project is consistent with the harbor management plan, which calls for the timely repair and maintenance of shore protection structures to protect existing development. And with the condition that there be best management practices imposed during construction to ensure no adverse impact on the environmental conditions in the harbor management area. But also, that would be the recommendation we would make. But I think it's also be interesting to talk with Deep about the coastal jurisdiction line here, but that's not related to this particular recommendation.
Well, the ARC review had looked at this application, and again, we came up again the same type of recommendation, and that the proposed project we will recommend to the commission and to eventually to planning and zoning that the proposed project is consistent with the harbor management plan by addressing structural failure and preventing sedimentation into Long Island Sound, the harbor. However, the commission certainly would require clarification and impose conditions to ensure that best management practices and environmental protection and compliance throughout the construction. And I think you did address that as well in your application, planning and zoning, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
We do. We have what's called the S&E Sedimentation Erosion Control Plan, which details the best management practice. They conform to Connecticut DEP's latest publications, and we also have a restoration plan, which is really it's just grass. And then there's, of course, there are walkways and asphalt that's going to be impacted on the further back in the land side, just due to the nature of the work.
So then, again, with regard to commission, I'll certainly make a proposal that we make a recommendation that the proposed project is consistent with the harbor management plan by addressing about the applicant addressing structural failure and preventing sedimentation into the Long Island Sound or to Norfolk Harbor, and that the commission certainly would require, again, we have the clarification of imposed conditions to ensure best management practices, which we have in your application, as you so stated, and then for the environmental protection and compliance throughout the construction time period. So that's all under consideration then.
I'll make that motion, John.
All right. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Any discussion on that further? All right. All those in favor? Application, please. Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? All right, so moved. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me
Check on that coastal jurisdiction.
yeah, that I'm not sure about, Jeff.
Alan, you're muted.
Dr. Pinto, are you complete? Hello?
You're muted, John.
Here we are. Okay. Me.
Yeah, the Manresa project is further down the agenda, Jonathan, with the new business. So,
Okay. All right, we'll hold off on that. Okay, that's fine.
so are we?
We're finished
for
for
now?
now. The direct applications. Yes, that's correct.
Good. Thank you very much. I have not a lot to report. It's been I think we had a wonderful summer season. We've fished in the new East Branch dock project, which I think is going to be a terrific benefit to the community. And I think that I saw the video today of all the poobahs taking a lot of credit for that, but I'd really like to thank the harbor commissioners that really, I think, worked very hard on that. That's Chris and Jeff Stedman spent a lot of time in meetings with that. So I just as the unsung heroes of this. I'm just, very pleased with the work you guys did, and I think it's reflects well on the Harbor Commission. So that one little bit of housekeeping I have for us is to just be aware. I had the opportunity. I missed the meeting, so I went back and watched the video. And for all of us who were on TV for presentations by architects or designers and developers and people like that, we need to look alert and not be doing something else during the during those presentations. There's nobody particularly at fault, but what I did notice is a sort of a theme was a lot of people that just weren't listening to what other people were saying, and there was some reaction from some of the people doing presentations that they felt they weren't being. I thought I read the body languages; they were kind of shocked. So that's something we all need to be aware of, that we're on the screen a lot of the time, or we can turn our cameras off from time to time if we have to do something untowardly. The only other question I have is the progress with grass dredging. I think it's something we really need to be moving forward on. Our mooring area is going to become more and less useful as time goes on in the South Anchorage particularly. So I just would like to know that we're making some progress on getting that. Looking at some old meetings we have, John mentioned we have some forms and things like that, but I think it's important that we get going on the dredging, because it's a multi-year process. It takes a long time. We have to assess the need for it, and I guess my point is that the long term, Norwalk is losing its commercial harbor. Industry is leaving. That's a problem everywhere, and we need to really replace it with other activities that also are, if they're not commercial, they're going to support dredging and developing, as we're seeing going on with the Marine Commercial District, that there's things that are at least attempting to be coastal marine dependent activities. And those activities may be different from what they were 40 years ago, but still we have to have some attention to pay some attention to approve things, or to light some fires to get those kinds of activities going that we want to see. It's not going to happen by itself, so we have to be a little proactive in those things. But I think the dredging is something we really should be working on, because it takes a long time. So whoever has the action on that, we need to work toward getting that done, or getting it started. So those are my words for the evening. Thank you all for being here. Chairman Bartosh, are you available there? I see your name.
I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So we did not have an October meeting, as we had no new or old business on our agenda. I would like to say, with respect to that point number 4, which I guess you guys are bringing up during new business tonight, that as far as the Shellfish Commission is concerned, that there is a need to address subtidal contamination. So I understand that this current permitting meeting is just about planning, but it's conspicuous by its absence. That is, there hasn't been any mention of the developer addressing, testing, remediating any potential subtidal contamination at the site. And that's all I have. Eat Norwalk shellfish, and I'll see you guys in November.
Chairman Bartosh, any questions for Steve? Thank you very much. Staff reports, Harbor Master Lovallo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few things. I know everyone's aware of what happened up at the upper river with the barge. That was 4 days of a pretty good event. Obviously, there was no injury or property damage. I'd just like to thank Sergeant Basigli and his staff with the Marine Police, Terry Marine, for going up to get the barge personally unloaded, and also the captains from the Buchanan 5 and the Mr. T Everyone did a real good job in getting that solved. And in the beginning of this month, I just went out around the Marvin Beach area. There was I tagged a couple moorings that I don't know who they belong to. You know, people in emails in the beginning of the year, I told people to sticker their names on their buoys or a CT number, or even write it. And when they do it with the Sharpies, obviously that it doesn't last. So what I do is when I don't know whose mooring it is, I go out. I had stickers made for them to call me, and that's pretty much the end of my report.
Thank you, Harbor Master Lavala. Does anybody have any questions for Bruce? Nicely done, my friend. Our Harbor Management Consultant, Mr. Stedman, you have the floor, sir.
I have a few things, and just to follow up, Bruce, I didn't get a chance to call you today, but I did talk with the Corps of Engineers, and they were appreciative that we kept them up to date on what was going on with the barge removal. And
Okay, good.
if there is an after-action meeting, the project manager from the Corps, who would also be involved in the project management dredging project, would like to be involved. And we did talk about the size of the barges. They're bigger than what was apparently what was used when we had the agreements back in when we adjusted the channel boundaries. So that's something that they're going to give some consideration to. I don't know if there's a remedy, but clearly the barges encroach into the channel, not just when
Right.
it's unloaded. But so we'll keep on top of that.
I'm still waiting on an action report also. After action report, from the board, from the tugboat company, they were going to send me an after action report, and I haven't received that yet.
There is a Army Corps drawing showing the two barges, much narrower than the barges that are currently in use, docked simultaneously in each bulkhead, the ONG bulkhead and the Divine bulkhead, allowing a pretty broad passageway between them, like 40, 50 feet, something like that. So I wish we could find that drawing somewhere, because it does exist. I've seen it, and I gone through all of my files, and I can't find it on my computer anywhere. So it does exist, and that kind of shows I think the way that part of the river is intended to operate according to the Army Corps, and it's a useful document.
But we also have to understand the agreements we had with the Corps prior to the first phase of the dredging project, and the realignment of the channel that we did accomplish. And the understanding was that the Corps would accept a barge being unloaded and encroaching into the channel. But when the barge was empty, it would be moved down the bulkhead into this space that was available, because we realigned the boundary of the channel. But that's perhaps not feasible now, given the towing restrictions. You know, you can't have the tug come in every time a barge is unloaded and move the new one and bring a new one in. So typically there are two barges at the bulkhead all the time. But there was clearly an agreement that we made with the Corps of Engineers to dredge the harbor and realign the boundaries of the channel. I think we should give some discussion to that, although, well, it's deserving of more attention now.
That's my point.
The other thing that's of, I think, significant interest is, and it concerns the Seaview Avenue proposal, which is now going to be the subject of a informational public hearing. We attended the status conference, some of us did yesterday. But the significance of that is that we didn't know this, but there was a law passed at the last legislative session, interestingly called an Act to Enhance Environmental Permitting Predictability, or maybe the words are a little switched around there. But it eliminated the automatic evidentiary hearing upon receipt of 25 signatures. And that wasn't clear when the East Norwalk Boat Club apparently submitted the petition for the hearing. And that wasn't made clear on the DEP notice, in my opinion, although they did reference the bill. But you'd have to be an attorney to go look at the bill. So the East Norwalk Boat Club submitted a petition for a hearing that petition was provided then by Deep to the applicant. And the applicant's attorney then objected to say that the East Norfolk Boat Club hadn't met the criteria for an evidentiary hearing, and therefore it would be only a informational hearing, which consists of, there will be a public comment hearing on December 11th, and then the deadline for written public comments is December 23rd. But the criteria now for obtaining or achieving an evidentiary hearing is that one of the petitioners has to demonstrate that their rights or duties or responsibilities could be adversely affected, or that they meet the requirement for being an intervener under the Administrative Procedures Act. And the East Norfolk Boat Club wasn't aware of that and didn't make that assertion in their submittal. But I think that this is something we really have to give attention to, because it's inconsistent, and the commission has determined that, with specific provisions of the harbor management plan, including the proximity of the boats that would be berthed to the federal anchorage line, and also the encroachment into the First Street right of way. So when there's been this dispute about whether it's a recommendation of the Harbor Commission that has to be considered or a recommendation in the plan, here there are clearly recommendations in the plan, and I think we have to make that those statements to uphold the harbor management plan at this public informational hearing, and also make people aware of the history of what took place here with the encroachments that were identified in 1980, which led to the Harbor Management Commission being established, and also led to the Harbor Management Act prior to the Harbor Management Commission establishing all harbor management commissions, and the agreements with the Corps and with Deep and the realignment of the channel call for a setback, not just of structures, but of boats that would be tied to those structures. So I think we have to give some attention to this. And I also might say that the Greenwich Harbor Commission and Shellfish Commission are now, I guess collaborating is the word, or communicating with the best way to pursue public hearings now, given this new law, and making the assertions that those commissions' rights and duties or authorities could be affected. So it's something we got to prepare for in December. Also, you cut me off if it's going too long. There's a lot of things to talk about. The Norwalk River Watershed Initiative. There was a public meeting on September 27th to talk about the update of the watershed-based plan. I could not attend that meeting, but we prepared a number of public displays for it that we dropped off at the South Norwalk Library prior to the meeting, and I picked them up afterwards. If we didn't have those, there wouldn't have been public displays at the meeting. But there'll be another public meeting probably in December to talk about the draft policies for updating the plan. And I think that we need to be prepared also. We did submit the water quality policies from the Norwalk Harbor Management Plan, also submitted for the consultant who's working with the watershed-based plan now. The reports that we did on the Yankee Doodle Bridge, and also on the stormwater assessment report. And we also talked about some new policies that might be added to the Harbor Commission policies, including, the need to achieve and maintain a balance between development and conservation, manage highway and bridge pollutants, deal with floodplain management, and the whole issue of coastal resiliency, which we know is being misused now. We also talked about the DOT's project for the Route 715 project, and the discussion about the questions about the stormwater management for that project, and clearly the presentations would indicate that there's going to be a substantial increase in impervious surfaces. So that's another topic that we'll need to address. We're working, John, as president of the Harbor Management Association, with working to come up with hopefully an agreement with Deep for amendment of the Harbor Management Act next legislative session. A couple of weeks ago, we had a very good committee meeting. Representatives from the Stamford, Greenwich, New London, Fairfield, and Norwich Harbor Commissions preparing for a meeting with Deep to discuss these issues. And then interestingly, Deep, which we didn't know about, has tried to schedule a meeting with our committee and legislators, not just Deep representatives, but state legislators on the Environment Committee. And that's a new wrinkle that's come into this, and we have to figure out how to deal with that, but that's in the works. Regarding the chairman mentioned the groundbreaking ceremony at the Veterans Park Marina. The discussion with the Connecticut Port Authority officials were in attendance, and we're appreciative that their role and $3.5 million in state funds were provided for this, and that their role was appreciated. Regarding the SHIP grants, we learned last week that we shouldn't expect, or we can't expect another round of those SHIP grants this year. What the Port Authority is hoping for is that the bond commission will meet in December and allocate perhaps $5 million to the Port Authority for the Port Authority to distribute, so that the future SHIP grants for hopefully will be announced next year will not require individual actions by the bond commission, but the Port Authority will have the total amount of money, and then we'll be able to disperse that. We still have to work on the street end project that the Port Authority has provided funds for. A number of other things. We talked about well, Chris has his hand raised. John.
Yeah. Hey guys, sorry, real quick. I do apologize, but I gotta hop a little early tonight. My wife has an obligation, and I gotta go watch my kids. So it's been fantastic. Sorry to drop, but
All right. A couple of other things. Well, quickly. Last Saturday, I attended the 25th anniversary annual meeting of the Connecticut League of Conservation Voters, which was a very, very interesting meeting, talking about environmental issues and initiatives and conservation over the last 25 years, and thinking, where are we now compared to where we were 25 years ago, and are we in a better place? There was also, we talked about we have in the past the Connecticut Siting Council, and they're less than, I don't know what you call it, meetings and decisions, less than, something admirable, if that's the right word. And you've probably followed the issue, well, we know the issue we had with the Siting Council with the Eversource project, which some of us described as one of the, most unusual or perhaps the worst environmental meeting of an environmental group that some of us have attended. But you probably followed what's taken place in Fairfield and Bridgeport with the Siting Council's review of the proposal by the United Illuminating Company, and what's taken place there. And a couple of weekends ago, I attended a rally at the Bridgeport Baptist Church, which was again very interesting because of the diverse groups that were brought together to stand up to the utility company, and on the basis of environmental issues and also community issues. And very interestingly, last week, the Siting Council reversed its previous vote to approve this utility plan, and this reversed their previous vote to approve it and disapproved it. But there's no discussion, no understanding of why, and of course that leads to criticism of arbitrary and capricious decisions. Also,
this we need to move along, so I just put it in express mode.
I'll say one more comment, and this is related to the what we have to deal with on the Water Street and follow up to that 108 Water Street project, where the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection made a finding that proposal was inconsistent with the State Coastal Management Act. Therefore, in other words, it's inconsistent with state law, and recommended that it not be approved by the zoning authority in Norwalk. But it was approved anyway. And then subsequently, a couple of weeks ago, similar situation took place in Fairfield, where the Connecticut DEP determined the proposal for residential development in the coastal area was inconsistent with the Coastal Management Act and shouldn't be approved, and it was approved. And that brings up the issue of what's the remedy when this takes place, and the relationship of the DEP's comments to the coastal site plan review process. And now it appears that the decision by zoning authorities in Fairfield is going to be appealed. by the neighborhood association if they can raise enough money in a short period of time. And so that may add some additional, this remedy when the state finds something is inconsistent with state law and the municipality approves it. So there's more to come about this matter. And well, I'll stop my report there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jeff,
Can I ask
any
I
questions?
have
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question
Sorry.
for Jeff. So Jeff, are you saying that municipalities have precedence over state?
Yes, and with regard to the coastal site plan review process. The
Interesting.
coastal site plan review process is authorized by state law to implement the Coastal Management Act. But the Coastal Management Act doesn't supersede municipal authority in that regard. But the DEP has advisory, yet a coastal site plan review, it's referred to DEP for advisory comments pursuant to the Coastal Management Act. But again, those are considered advisory comments. So take what happened now at 108 Water Street. 35 years ago, when the Marine Commercial District was proposed to be diminished, DEP found that inconsistent, but sued the zoning commission at the time. But now DEP we discussed this with them. They're not interested in pursuing lawsuits now, but that's the situation. And what the remedy is, absent DEP taking legal action to sue the municipality. Don't quite know what the response will be. But as we said, Lori, if we update the harbor management plan, that they will expect to see a policy having to do with this matter. And if we don't address it properly, there's going to be issues in having approval of the plan. And it's related to the state policies and the state programs to respond to climate change and rising sea level and deal with the resiliency issue. And they realize that the resiliency issue is being misused now. It's being used as an argument to support increased development, which is not the intent of the original policy for it. But anyway, thank you. Sorry to go on.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jeff? Moving right along, Jeff Mangles is not with us tonight, but I do have a report from him.
Alan, one other comment too, with regard to our harbor management plan. The new wrinkle in the plan is that not only does DEP get a chance to actually authorize our harbor management plan, but also so does the Connecticut Port Authority.
Well, it's not just a chance, John.
They're responsible for approving the plan as well. So that's a new addition to what we need to come up with or deal with, I should say. And there's the Army Corps, DEP, and now the Connecticut Port Authority.
The Corps doesn't.
Well,
that's interesting.
They've consulted the Corps.
And have the Harbor Commission's been notified of that?
It's well known because when the Port Authority was established, it eliminated the DOT's maritime division. So previously the DOT had approval authority as well as the DEP, and now that approval authority rests with the Connecticut Port Authority. So that's well known to everyone. But the Port Authority has been a supporting entity, I think, in a lot of what we're doing, and we're hoping to enlist their support for the legislative changes that are needed to uphold municipal harbor management authority.
So during the groundbreaking ceremony, Alan, for the marina, we had a chance to discuss that with the director of the Connecticut Port Authority, discussing some of those rule changes and what that would mean to us. So, and that's when they informed us of their duties to review the Connecticut Harbor Management Plan. Yeah.
All right, I do have Jeff's report for mooring and harbor safety, and it is brief. There's several items. One is DOCWA. He says that we have multiple positive reviews from boaters and visitors. That's a very important thing. That really the reason we do these DOCWA moorings is to get the publicity about what a great destination by water that Norwalk actually is. And so the positive reviews that are just great for the reputation of our community and getting outsiders coming in. Observed that the use of the transient moorings is slowing down, which is understandable given the season. As with transient moorings, Edwards Marine was requested to provide quote for winter staking and repainting floats, winter staking and repainting floats. Edwards Marine was requested to provide a quote for larger mushrooms where needed on the 9 transient moorings that the commission operates. On online moorings, just to remind you all, online moorings is the outside software vendor we use for managing the managed fields, which are basically the yacht clubs in town. There's nothing to report there. And harbor safety and island safety, he says no harbor safety issues to report with the exception of the barge that broke free at Divine and caused access issues with the Norwalk Boat Club. Big thanks to the Marine Unit, Harbor Master, and Terry Marine for their work in freeing the barge. That is Jeff's report. I won't take any questions because I'm not Jeff. Finance, Chris.
Yes, hi guys. So I guess first, Alan, you'd sent me a request for a financial statement. So I'll do the official one at the end of the year.
Yeah, I asked for something for the our next meeting in November, actually. So.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about this meeting.
No.
I tried to put it together. I guess.
That's fine.
So, okay, fine. Yeah, we haven't been getting any deposits from Docwa all year, basically since June. So I don't know if Docwa is not sending us money or whether it's not being entered into the city system accurately. But we'll have to chase that down. We've basically gotten $150 from Docwa, whereas last year we had over 3,000. And it sounds like we're getting reviews. The boats were here, so I don't know where that money has gone. We have done quite a lot of expenditure in terms of mooring services and mooring improvements. I don't know how that fits in with our new knowledge of the procurement process and what we have to do when we spend more than $2,500 in any given vendor.
Well, some things that we do are kind of sole source, and so that like our Docwa and those things.
Yes, but things like marine services we should probably get multiple quotes and go through the process if we're going to be going through the process on things now. And the limit on that's over $2,500, I believe, if I read that correctly. And we don't have to put it out to bid if we get price. I think you only have to go out to bid if it's over another threshold. So the more, it used to be $1,000 here, $1,000 there, where we didn't really exceed that threshold. We're doing a lot of work now, and you have to be aware of that, not to overstride any of those boundaries in terms of now that we're under a much tighter microscope with procurement.
Right, and you just work closely with Jeff on that because you certainly can get local quotes, and I think that as long as the amounts are reasonable, certainly the city would like to use local businesses to supply it as long as it's getting the good value for the city's dollar. So.
Okay. And then Jeff Stedman submitted an invoice, and I sent that around today. We just got it today, so I don't know if anybody's even got a chance to look at it. It was for, I believe, 32 and change. Don't have it in front of me, but so I'd like to make a motion to approve that. It is for $3,120, covering the periods of August, September. July, August, September, and October.
I saw that, Chris. I'd like to make a motion to have that paid.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
I have not had a chance to look at it.
I have not either.
So I'm going to abstain.
I'm abstaining.
All right. Well, I made the motion and
I'll second that. I saw that.
Matt seconded it. So we have a motion.
Is it seconded?
Yes. That's it.
John?
Yeah. I saw that.
So, call the question, I guess. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, so is it, okay,
That includes all the way to October
No, through September.
through September.
through September, okay. Sorry, I'm clicking things and I've lost the screen.
Oh.
I can't actually see anybody, but, so I can't see who's voting or not, but all in favor, aye,
Aye.
and
Aye.
opposed? And I can't see who voted and who can't, I lost my screen, but,
I have to abstain because I haven't seen it yet.
So you have
Wait, I
two
think it's-
abstentions, Chris.
2 abstentions.
And we have 4, we have,
I'm not your chair, I'm not running the vote here, so let's, what, did it carry or did it not carry?
well, we had, we have, I don't know, Matt, we have Matt,
Matt and John,
Don, and you.
Chris,
And Lori and Alan are abstaining.
So we have 5 votes,
No.
3 yays and 2
4.
abstentions.
Oh, there's 4.
there's 4.
We had the-
We
There's
don't have
only
a
4
quorum,
people.
do we? Oh, we do have a quorum.
Well, he,
Did we lose a quorum when Chris left?
no.
No,
Who else
There are
is still
four,
with us?
4 yays. Chris McDonald, there are 4 yays and 2 abstentions
Okay, well then,
and no nays.
all right, so that motion carried. All right, that's it for the financial report.
this Chris, and all of those were approved activities on Jeff's part?
Yes,
So, all right. Plans and recommendations?
Yep. So I have a question. So less than a quorum carries? Is
Yeah,
that
I don't
right?
quite how
Well,
that works.
Amelia?
The quorum to have a vote, a majority of the members to carry the motion. So 4 out
Okay.
of 6.
Yeah.
Right?
Got it.
Right?
Got it. I wasn't sure how that worked. Okay, plans and recommendations. I had planned to discuss the onboarding packet. I see it's under new business, so we can discuss it now or we can wait. Whatever you want to do.
Why don't you do it now?
Okay,
Do you have a,
Amelia,
go ahead.
can you share it, Amelia, please?
Will do. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so I had distributed this draft, and basically it's I'd call it a primer for a new commissioner, and it just goes through an introduction to what the Harbor Management Commission is, the legal and regulatory framework that creates it and gives it authority, such as it is, what the plan is, and our primary tasks, the types of motions that are made, the types of votes we take. So it's not meant to be a completely comprehensive guide. It's just to be a general overview, including a glossary of terms. So I guess my first question is, I received great comments from Dr. Pinto. Those have been incorporated in this draft. So my first question is, did anybody else read it? And if you didn't, that's fine. We can talk about it at another meeting.
The point of this, the reason we're trying to do this is some of the commissioners, if they've come on, have mentioned the fact that they kind of floundered around and really didn't, know what what authorizes the existence of the Harbor Commission, what the authorities of the Harbor Commission are, and things of that nature. And so Lori, did, I think, is pretty fine work in putting together a summary of all of the kind of resources that are the commissioners should be aware of and familiar with, and make an effort to read themselves over over time some of the legislation and the statutes and public trust doctrine and so forth. So that's the point of this document, is something that could be given to a new commissioner who's unfamiliar with everything and comes to a first meeting and says, "What the heck is going on here?" So this was a handout for new new commissioners. It's the point of this.
Correct. mean, when
And
I
I think-
came on, I had tons of marine experience. I had tons of experience working on boards and community committees and stuff, but I didn't know what the, the legal and regulatory framework was, what the harbor management plan entailed, all that. So this would have been very helpful. As I say, it's not comprehensive and it's just my first draft. I am completely open to more things that should be included, things that should come out of it, whatever you guys think. And as I say, if you haven't had time to look at it, let's not waste time tonight reading it. We can talk about it in November. There's no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Lori, I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Oh boy.
Right, well, shall we table it for now and
Yes.
the discussion and continue? I think it is important because so a number of you have joined the commission just so had a lot of questions, and this seemed like a good way to, particularly with the statutes that enable the commission and the statutes that we sometimes enforce, particularly with the harbor rules and things like that, are important for us to all be familiar with. So it is a good resource to have, and I appreciate Lori's time in pulling this all together.
Yeah, no, I agree, Alan. It's a thumbnail description of what we do, and I think it's important for the commissioners to know the history, basically, of the Harbor Management Commission and all the good things that we've done over the past 30+ years, and what we've been dealt with and what we've been and how we've handled it. But this certainly puts it into a sort of a thumbnail description of what we do, and I think certainly of a benefit to new members coming on board. So I certainly agree with that, Laurie.
And it looks longer than it really is. I mean, it's still kind of in outline form. I try to keep it really concise.
Well, but concise but informative.
Correct. And then also I tried to create the opportunity that if somebody wanted to dig deeper into anything, the harbor management plan, the regulatory framework, I provided links that you could go into as deeply as you wanted. All right, why don't we table it?
We'll table it till next time. Let's put it on the agenda because I think we should accept it and get it, start using it. We could all have a copy to read, and also anybody new coming on the commission would be,
And it can certainly be a living document. I mean, it can change as we go along too.
Yeah, I don't think we have to go to the Common Council and get this all
No,
approved. I think it's something.
I don't think this is.
It's just something to
It's an
inform our
FYI.
That's
new
right.
members. If they know where to find things too. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, great.
Are you all set, Lori?
I am. That's the end of my, oh wait, Don.
Lori, I was looking at it. It's good to have the hyperlinks on there. It'll kind of help me along too, to take a look at, know where to find everything.
Good, thank you. Okay,
Done.
well, it shouldn't be a big conversation, but do take a look if you can before November and see if there's stuff you think should be, I've missed anything or whatever. All right, that's the end of my report.
Lori,
Yeah.
For the new marina, name of the new marina, then we submitted
That's
that.
on the agenda.
Yeah, that's not under plans and recommendations really, John. That's
Okay.
So newsletter website, Chris is not here. Is there anybody else who has anything to report about that? Seeing no raised hands, and we have no mayor's water quality committee to put a representative on at this point. So that's kind of a moot point. New business, Lori, we've gotten through the review of the draft onboarding document. Thank you, Lori. So it's really now the discussion of public comment from Manresa Island I'm just going to leave that to John, I guess, to talk about a little bit. But I did send out Deep's link, all the Deep documentation, which is extensive and really boring if you try to read all 257 pages of it. But the question is whether we make recommendation to the individually or as a commission to Deep for their public comment. They have public comment open until October 30th, I believe, on this.
That's right.
And yeah.
Yeah, well, all this is certainly based on the fact that I attended the meeting at at Brian McMahon High School regarding the public hearing that the DEEP had, which I thought was very informative. And again, that was the major request, that this document be reviewed by the public, and public comment be open till October 30th for comment period. And since we are part of the public and we have a responsibility to review applications in and around the harbor, I think this is certainly within our purview to make comment on that application. Right?
John, I don't think that that's an item of really for discussion. It's a proposed act. It's a proposal affecting Norwalk Harbor. The Harbor Commission is responsible for the public review of proposals that affect the harbor, whether we call them an application or a plan or a proposal. But just going back in the history, you know, we started talking with the DEEP in January of 2015 about the railroad bridge. There wasn't any application before us then. It was a proposal. The same with Eversource. The same with the work on the Yankee Doodle Bridge. So I think it's clearly within the commission's purview and responsibility to review all proposals affecting Norwalk Harbor for consistency with the harbor management plan and to provide comments and recommendations to the appropriate agency. To not do so, in my opinion, is just not fulfilling the responsibility for public review. The stewardship permit is interesting because we talked about this with the remediation division at DEEP. And I will say I have, 15 years of experience with the town of Stratford reviewing this, what started with a stewardship permit for the Army engine plant. But the stewardship permit sets forth, even though it's a couple of hundred pages, and the remediation division, the director who we know made clear that a lot of it is simple. In fact, much of this was developed for NRG some time ago before the current owners assumed ownership. But the stewardship permit sets forth the responsibilities for remediation and time periods and so forth, but it doesn't specify the means and the methods for doing so. Those are to be determined in the detailed remedial action plans that are to right. plan or plans to be developed. And one interesting, just as an example, when you look through this stewardship permit, there's a requirement and talks about detailed remedial action plans, but then in the schedule or the requirement for submittals, there's just a reference to a conceptual plan. So that's something to be clarified. But we also talked about this with the Bureau of Aquaculture, which of course is responsible for shellfish waters and resources. And one of the concerns, and we've raised this to DEEP, and DEEP has assured us that our concern is going to be addressed, is that the remedial action plans and the responsibility of the property owner are not just for remediation of the upland property that they bought to the mean high water line, but they also have responsibility for any contaminants that are in the marine sediments that were the result of the previous generating operations with coal and oil on the plant. So that the commission, what we talked about is providing a recommendation of support from the commission for the implementation of this stewardship permit, with the understanding that there will be detailed remedial action plans that will be forthcoming, and that the commission will have an opportunity to review those plans, and also with the understanding that the current owners will be responsible for remediation of not just the upland portion of the property, but also the marine sediments around the property. Interestingly, we provided to the remediation division, it's nice discussions, the maps of shellfish resources in Norwalk Harbor. And again, when we talked about this with the Bureau of Aquaculture, they very much appreciate the Harbor Commission's support and emphasis that with understanding that this is going to involve remediation of the marine sediments as well as the upland property. So that's the background to this. And I will say that the details are going to come out in the remedial action plans, how this will be done. This just basically says it has to be done and who's responsible, and also that they have to provide financial assurance that they can do the work, and that typically involves posting a bond, or at least in other locations. But I will say that in the other towns dealing with these large scale remedial action plans, Stanford, the Harbor Point project, and Fairfield with the Exide project, and Stratford, the Harbor Commission has been intimately involved with following what's going on, asking questions, and ensuring that the review and the work is done in the public interest. And so that's my introduction to this project.
So in that, as I said, the ARC review committee, I know it was quite an Augean task to look at this. I know there's over 200 pages of documentation in the stewardship program, but we did look at it, and we did come up with several suggestions with regard to the October 30th deadline for public comment, at least our comment, that what we would like to see as far as the commission. But certainly, basically, we do support the entire concept of what they're trying to do. And as I have to add that the DEP did a remarkably a very good job in reviewing to the public interest what they plan to do. But there are certain points that I thought that should be brought out and made mention by the Harbor Commission, just to reinforce many of the issues that were raised. And I might say that many of the issues that were raised that we had talked about during our ARC review committee were also raised by several members of the public who responded to the public in the public hearing from Village Creek and also Harbor View that had a major interest in some of the things that we had an interest in, which was to make sure that anything that was on that piece of property did not wind up, and how much of it actually wound up in the new in the remediation plan would consider the intertidal flats and the shellfish area in and around the in and around the Marisa Island. With that being said, I have several suggestions. If you there's about 4 or 5 different suggestions that I'd like to put forth before the commission that we came up or developed, that is the ARC review committee developed with regard to comment that we would make before the October 30th public hearing requirement. So
before we get you go, John, has everybody read this document?
Well, I have, and
I have.
I did it.
And Matt looked at it.
Lori?
Yeah, we've gone through.
No,
No,
not the
okay.
entire document, but I understand this, what a stewardship permit is, so.
Yeah.
And I think, Jeff's done a good job explaining, and I'm sure.
I don't have any objection for and I've read this several times. I sent my own letter, actually, not as a harbor commissioner, just as a citizen to on this subject as well. But I have nothing to object to turning this into a short supportive document from the Harbor Commission.
Well, like I said, I have there one. Sorry,
But beginning with the statement of support for the document for the permit, with the understanding that it will address both the marine sediments and the upland sediments, and with the understanding that the detailed remedial action plans will be forthcoming, and the commission will have an opportunity to review and comment on those. But starting with that statement of support and understandings, then we talked about having the more specific comments with respect to sections of the document. But the first statement would be a statement of support for it with those understandings.
Right. Well, that would be our leadoff statement.
And then adding these comments.
Like as I said, I'll quickly go through the comments that they pointed out, and maybe the shortcomings that we saw with regard to what we would like to include or have them include or consider in that stewardship plan. So one of the comments, the first comment was the definition of facility that was listed on page 13, and the site they talk about on page 15, and the draft steward permit appear to be used interchangeably to describe the 123 acre area subject to the permit. However, these definitions do not explicitly include the intertidal and subtidal areas, which was a concern of many of the residents in that area during that public hearing. So what we had, the suggested statement that we would like to include in our statement to DEP for the October 30th deadline is that the Harbor Management Commission respectively requests that the DEP revise the definitions of facility and site in the draft stewardship permit to explicitly include the intertidal and subtidal areas requiring remediation. And this clarification is essential to ensure that all environmentally sensitive areas within the 123 acres site are subject to permits, requirements, and oversight. That's the first comment. The next comment is that the draft stewardship permit outlines the need for a detailed implementation plan as part of the remediation action plan on page 19. However, the compliance schedule that was scheduled 3, item 8, page 40, only requires a submission of a conceptual statewide remediation action plan within 360 days of the permit's effective date. And there is no clear indication of when the detailed plans will be required or how the public will be involved in reviewing it. And so the suggested comment that we're going to make to the DEP is that the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission respectively requests that the DEP clarify the timeline for submission of the detailed remediation action plan referenced on page 19 of the draft stewardship permit. Additionally, we urge DEP to include provisions for a formal public review and comment period to ensure that all stakeholders have the opportunity to evaluate and respond to the proposed remediation action before implementation. That was the second comment. Our next comment involved that the draft stewardship permit requires the permittee to submit annual progress reports, and that was on page 40, to prepare a public participation community engagement plan, which is on page 27. However, it is unclear whether the community engagement plan will provide the general public with updates more frequently than once a year. And this lack of clarity raises concerns about timely public access to the important information regarding the site activities in progress. And this was a concern of several of the neighbors that had discussed that action plan with that they wanted to be informed and be kept informed when those that action plan and when they can respond to that. And so our suggestion was the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission respectively requests that DEP clarify whether the community engagement plan will provide progress updates and to the public more frequently than the annual reports required by the stewardship plan. We recommend that the plan include a schedule for regular public communications, such as quarterly updates or milestone-based notifications to ensure transparency and ongoing community involvement. Next comment was the draft stewardship permit references the requirement for a coastal consistency review pursuant to the Connecticut General Statutes 22A 98. However, the procedure for reviewing and approving this requirement, including how public review and comment will be incorporated, is not clearly defined. And additionally, the permit mentions municipal coastal site plan review for activities requiring such approval, but does not specify which aspects of the permit or the remedial action plan may trigger this requirement. And the statement that we would make to the DEP is that the Harbor Management Commission respectively requests that the DEP provide a detailed explanation of the coastal consistency review process required under the state statutes that we just mentioned, the 22A and 98, including the procedures for public review and comment. And further, we ask DEP to identify which specific activities under the stewardship permit or the remedial action plan are expected to require municipal coastal site plan review, and to coordinate with the City of Norwalk to ensure that these reviews are conducted in accordance with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act. And we have just two more comments, and that is in the Appendix A in Figure 2 of the draft stewardship permit shows the project site boundary limited to the upland portion of the property. This depiction may imply that the remediation efforts will be confined to the upland areas despite known impacts in intertidal and subtidal zones. And this is such a representation could lead to misunderstanding about the full scope of the environmental remediation plan. And again, this was a concern, again, of the neighbors that they brought up, and that what we would recommend, that the commission recommends, we should recommend that the Harbor Management Commission respectively requests that DEP revise Appendix A, Figure 2, and any other relevant project maps to clearly show that the required remediation area includes the impacted intertidal and subtidal portions of the property. Accurate representation of the full remediation area is critical to ensuring transparency, and again, regulatory compliance and effective environmental stewardship of Norwalk Harbor. And the last section involves the action of concern, area of concern, or the AOC that they referred to, is a summary table on Appendix B, which includes the area of concern, Long Island's, excuse me, Long Island Sound sediment with investigation records from, they have records from 1999, 2003, 2011, and 2023. However, the draft stewardship permit does not clarify whether further investigation of intertidal and subtidal sediments is anticipated. And given the ecological sensitivity of these areas, and based on what Chairman Bardish had pointed out, certainly a viable shellfish area, these are areas of potential for contamination, and this lack of clarity raises concern about the adequacy of the site characterization and future remediation plans. So what we recommend, or what we should recommend, is that the Norwalk Harbor Management Commission respectively request clarification from DEEP regarding the future investigation of the intertidal and subtidal sediments in the area of concern. 11 is Long Island Sound sediment. And given the historical data and the environmental importance of these areas, we urge DEEP to specify whether additional investigations is planned and to ensure that any such efforts include a transparent process for public review and input. And again, part of the comment that was raised during their initial meeting that they had at Brian McMahon, that people wanted to be involved and they wanted to know what data were available for their review. And they did make mention, although briefly, but they weren't specific on how much data was there after the 2000, what was it, the 2000, what did I say, 2023, if they have further data to support what they've already had. And then lastly, there was a couple other comments that we would make, for example, with regard to, where is it here?
Well, those are related to the other ones, John. that you
Yeah,
read.
they're basically the same, but we did make comment about the maintaining, making sure that they had enough financial, where was that now? Jesus, I had that here.
But that's a requirement of the permit.
Yeah, the permit requires financial assurance and long-term monitoring of the environmental control. And so a suggested comment would be the commission supports the requirement for financial assurance and recommends periodic review to ensure sufficient funding for long-term monitoring and maintenance of the environmental controls. So that's would be part of a letter that we would initiate before the October 30th deadline, that of our recommendation. And then, of course, we have the responsibility to review the remedial action plan as it comes forward.
But the statement of support again would be based on the understanding that it's going to include the marine sediments, and the commission would have the opportunity to review the detailed remedial action plans.
That's it for our report.
Are you suggesting any action, or is this something that you're going to do over your signature, or you're asking for the commission to?
No, this is the commission signature. This is based on ARC review that we reviewed and discussed. That's why I'm bringing it forward to the commission.
I see. Well, all I got was a 1.5 page thing that was nothing like what you just read. So this is impossible for me to digest.
I sent everything to the reviewers.
All I have is a page and 3/4 of comments, but none of them are what you just said. There's 4 or 5 suggested statements here, but that's all I've received.
Those are initial. Yeah, those are. Oh, I'm sorry. You did get. That's right. That was part of the application that was initially sent to the review to the commission. That was sent to you. But since then, we've reviewed the entire application. That is Matt, myself, and Chris reviewed the application, and those are the recommendations that we were bringing forward to the commission based on our review of the entire application.
Just over the last couple of days, we finally had a chance to meet and really go through everything, right, John?
Yes.
But could the motion be a statement of support for the stewardship permit, and with those understandings that we talked about, and also transmittal of the comments and recommendations as discussed by the commission at this meeting?
Oh, I just heard them read at this meeting moments ago, so
Well, I understand what you're
you know,
saying, but then again,
I can't digest all that.
and that's good. Well, that's
instantly.
understandable. So I don't know if all the other commissioners had a chance to review that, but that's the job of the ARC Review Committee, that you're giving us the responsibility to review an application and bring forward our recommendation, with the idea that a commission member would have read or maybe give a cursory review of that application, and either they yay or nay that, or they're in agreement or they're in complete disagreement of that recommendation. It's not that, as I said, you can certainly review that. I'll send those to you. I'll send those recommendations that I just talked to you, and then if you want, you can look at them within the next few days or so. If you agree or disagree, if there's anything totally objectionable, then certainly I'd gladly listen. But I think all those recommendations that we have are sort of on the up and up, dealing with public comment, requirements for public comment, and transparency with regard to the review process. And all we're doing is sort of reinforcing what we feel is necessary for clarification of that application, that stewardship plan. That's all. It's not that it's not, and they can either accept it or they're not, or not accept it or reject it, for that matter. All we're doing is making a recommendation.
Making a statement of support.
Or statement. We're going to definitely statement of support, and we support pretty much all of the activities that they have proposed in that stewardship program.
But with those basic understandings and with these additional comments.
Well, yeah, that's all. Yeah. Yeah,
I
don't know.
I read all 257 pages, and
I know that, and we're going to be inundated with applications throughout our career as harbor management commissioners. So how do we want to handle that? So we want to have 7 commissioners on an application review committee and discussing that, and then how do we bring that forward to the commission? Either you're going to take the responsibility of the 3 commissioners that are reviewing that, with the idea that you have a chance to review that on your own accord. And if basically hearing that, either that suggested comment, that you completely disagree with it, or you find that it is totally unfounded, as we've done previously in some of the other applications, that we don't submit it. That's my concern. How do you want to proceed from here, Alan? That's the thing. I mean, you have an ARC review committee that you're hopefully putting the judgment of 3 commissioners that have been an engineer. And we've had, again, one individual certainly an individual who has been a member of this NOAC Society and waterfront property, and myself, but 30 years experience to deal with some of these application reviews. And how do you want to move forward with that? That's the other thing. I don't know what else we can do. If we can
we don't have really time to do much of anything.
That's the point.
Well, that's why we meet separately and digest all this and come up with a recommendation, so that we don't have to do it all in front of the whole commission. I thought that was the whole point of having a separate application review committee to do this and come up with recommendations. I mean, it sounds like you want us to do all that, then submit our review ahead of time for everybody to review, and then we vote on it. I mean,
it's kind of the point of why we get together and go through this in more detail prior to the meetings, is to make a recommendation.
I think that's right, Matt, and I think it's great. I am so appreciative of the application review committee, and that you guys get into it and look at all the nuts and bolts. To me, this one is a little bit different, because normally under application review committee, just as tonight, where there were 3 or 4 things, the vote is whether or not it's consistent or inconsistent with the harbor management plan. And it's a relatively quick vote with standard language. This one is a little bit different in that the recommendations are quite lengthy. I know, John, there are only a few of them, but they're quite lengthy. So it's a lot to digest when you're just reading them off. So it would, I think, in going ahead, if we do have an exception like this one, which is actually falling under new business, not under application review, it might be helpful to, attach to the agenda at least your comments in advance, so that we can at least digest them a little bit. As I say, I think in this one, it's a little bit different than our typical application review. But I am grateful that you guys spend the time to look at everything in advance.
Well,
Well stated, Lloyd. I don't have a solution. How to,
suggest a motion to consider. And the motion would be that the commission has reviewed the draft stewardship permit and expresses a statement of support for that permit with the understanding that the required remediation will address both the in-water sediments and the upland environmental problems, and that there will be detailed remedial action plans to follow, and that the commission will have an opportunity to review and provide comments on those detailed remedial action plans. In addition, the commission agreed to transmit to DEEP the considerations and the comments that were discussed at the meeting tonight.
Well, I'll make a motion that we send the letter of endorsement of the review process with the, with the caveats or with the requirements or caveats that DEEP, that the application include the title and subtitle areas as we discussed, and all the other recommendations John has put forward. So that's the motion from the commissioner.
Well, I'll have to second that, but again, I'd like to see if other commissioners are involved in that, whether we do that, how you want to proceed. It's going to be very cumbersome, Alan, to sort of, try to micromanage and like we talked before, in reviewing these applications, and how do you want to present them? Like I said, you're taking the recommendation of 3 commissioners based on
this is not an application review.
all the other subcommittees. All the other subcommittees that the Harbor Commission has, particularly the standing committees. We have standing committees, and we have committees that are temporary. But we have a standing committee. The Arc Review Committee is a standing committee, and of 3 commissioners to review applications with the idea that it has the public interest in mind and it has the harbor management plan in mind, and that we will proceed certainly accordingly to what we've done in the past. That we're not inconsistent with any of our recommendations, but we make recommendations based on the plan, and which is what we've done so far. And like I said, there's major objections to what we comment on with regard to making sure that there's public safety, making sure that there's public interest, and making sure that the activity certainly is transparent enough for the public review, and also what we do, and that is to make sure that's consistent with the harbor management plan.
I'd just say that based on the experience in Stamford and Fairfield and Stratford, this is the easiest part of the remediation project. It only sets forth the responsibilities. The detailed plans are going to require involvement by the commission, similar to the other towns, on a much more intense basis. But again, and the remediation division is also supports that. This is simple. This just sets forth who's supposed to do what. The details are to come.
Well, yeah, the details are based on the remediation action plan, which we will get directly, the input from. So,
are there any questions about the motion, about the statements John made earlier?
Questions on? I mean, I certainly understand what our intent is.
No, I'm talking about the other commissioners. We have a motion on the floor, and now we're in discussion period, right? So is there any questions about the motion, the details of the motion? All right, so we call the vote. Hey. All in favor?
I'm in favor. Aye.
Aye.
I see 5 hands. That's it, yeah.
Matt's muted.
Matt's muted.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I said yes.
Okay.
All right, Alan, I will get you a hard copy of these notifications. And if you certainly, when you review them, and Lori too, if you have, any objections, serious objections to what our comments were, which I hope you don't, let me know within the next day or so prior to the October 30th. I mean, we have planned to go through. I'll submit what we have, but like I said, I certainly value your judgment, and I certainly value Lori's judgment on the procedure and the process that we're doing right now, and also the recommendations that we made, because it should be part of a commission's responsibility. Everyone should be at least be either on board or perhaps not be on board with some of the suggestions that we
Sure,
have.
it's just a huge amount of information to
I understand that. That's
digest when you're just reading it and without a hard copy or anything. It's
I'll
just
do
not.
that. But maybe a
uh,
lawyer certainly agreed to on your recommendation that, you know, once we come up with a recommendation that we submit it to the commission for consideration prior to the meeting. These are the recommendations. So it's something in writing if you want. You know, I certainly have no problem with that, you know, because some of these applications we have that are going to be having in the near future with regard to the stewardship remediation action plan, and as well as the Walk Bridge project, you know, certainly get very involved. There's no question about it. And
But so Chris and Matt, you've not reviewed a final version or even an outline, or is that true?
they were both submitted the stewardship application, and they reviewed it. And I went with, as I said, Chris and I and Matt went over those not together, all three of us, but individually.
Yeah, I mean, John and I went through those in detail yesterday.
Okay. So we voted?
I just said that we just, John and I
We just
discussed the
we just
details.
voted the motion passed, right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, in all courtesy, Alan, you know, certainly I'll send those recommendations to you and to Lori, just for you have a hard copy to visualize what is being sent. Okay.
I'd appreciate that, John. Since I
Yeah.
just voted to support, it'd be nice to know what I voted on.
No,
I feel the same way.
no.
And that's showing a lot of faith in you and
Well, that's,
Jeff. And
you're
you
putting
know,
faith certainly in your other three commissioners in reviewing that, and that hopefully we're not going to overstep our boundaries. I don't think we've ever had, and to develop an inconsistency with any of the decisions that we've made in the past. At least that's my personal opinion.
and so the action is you're going to
We're going to get a letter, and you get a
draft out quickly.
I'll get a copy of the letter that's going to be sent out to I'm trying to forget her name. I have her name down, who is the DEP representative for it in the stewardship. I have her name. I will address that letter to her, and I'll give it, and as well as I send a copy to you, and I send a copy to Amelia.
Can we get that before it's sent, just in case we have any?
I'll do, yes, I'll do that. I'll send it out for October 30th.
Right.
I mean,
Let's see if we can just get in a few days and we haven't.
yeah, no, I understand. Gotcha.
Right. All right. Moving right along, our last item on the agenda is the naming for the East Basin Marina, which is, you know, I know there's this is Jeff has brought this up several times, and we're trying to decide what we're going to do. I have a statement from Jeff Mangels about this that he wrote. But what is the?
Well, I
is
wrote,
it-
well,
is
we
there-
wrote, I put a recommendation together. I sent that to Lori, and that was part of hopefully what the commission would endorse. Mayor Rilling is certainly on board with that. I spoke with him about that. He gave us a tentative, if you please get me a letter, you know, as soon as possible, that we will, you know, address the Parks and Recreation and the committee of the Common Council for that recommendation. So I guess there's other letters going in on the behalf as well, not just but I thought maybe the commission would represent that we would represent Tony Mobilia, and with regard to naming the marina after him. That was the intent of the letter here. I don't know what Jeff submitted. Jeff sent me the letter on his behalf, or what was his?
Oh, I have a letter to the commission. I have his comments on this issue. I'll read them for you.
Yeah.
Please find my response to the suggested renaming of the East Marina at Veterans Park. After several weeks to give this thought, my recommendation is as follows, with specific reasons on my decision. From Jeff Mangels, while I deeply respect Tony Mobilia, I believe the new marina should serve as a tribute to all veterans who have defended our freedoms. Veterans Park itself was created to collectively honor those who served, and the marina should continue that legacy. A name such as Norwalk Veterans marina, or other relative name would celebrate every veteran equally, reflecting the park's original intent and strengthening our community's pride in those who serve. Collective honor versus individual recognition. Veterans Park itself was established to honor all who serve. Naming the marina after a single individual may unintentionally overshadow the collective sacrifices of thousands of veterans from Norwalk and beyond. Continuity with the Veterans Park's purpose. The park and marina should work together to serve as a unified tribute to the services and sacrifices of our veterans. Naming the marina after an individual could shift that focus. Inclusivity and community pride. A name that honors all veterans would resonate more broadly with the entire community, creating a shared sense of pride and respect for everyone who has served. Avoiding future controversy. Choosing an individual's name, no matter how respected, can sometimes lead to differing opinions or future disputes. A name that represents all veterans avoids these concerns. Tourism and civic image. A strong patriotic name, such as Norwalk Veterans Marina, or a similar name, would strengthen Norwalk's reputation as a community that honors all who serve. Though I respect Tony, I believe that we can have a plaque mounted to the marina and have a dedicated area to do this, to add others. Something such as in memory of Tony Mobilia servicing Norwalk on the Harbor Management Commission start year, end year. Therefore, I cannot vote to accept the recommendation to name the marina after Tony Mobilia. However, I'm open to having a plaque of some type mounted on the dock area so we can recognize Tony in the future and others. That's from Jeff.
Well, the intent of the letter that was put together was to certainly endorse Tony Mobilia. It was just a letter that would be directed to the commission and putting the commission's name as sponsoring that. But if the commission doesn't agree to vote in that direction, obviously those letters can be sent individually to whomever, for example, the mayor, and as a recommendation from an individual, if they so like. But as I said, the letter that was put together with the idea of all of the good work and humanitarian work that Tony has put in. But I certainly could appreciate.
I don't. Have you supplied that yet to read?
What?
I mean,
the letter was submitted close to over a month ago. We've gone over this for 3 months. The letter was.
And it was attached to. Actually, John said he sent it to me. He sent it to Amelia. It was attached to the agenda, and it has been. I think we've seen it since September or earlier.
Well, I have not seen it. Sorry.
It's attached.
Yeah.
To the agenda that came out tonight. I do have a question. I have my hand raised. I have a question. I remember we talked at one point about having an interpretive panel. Jeff, I remember you talking a lot about how it means so much to Tony's family. And then I remember that we talked about how that interpretive panel would also serve the purpose of educating the public about the Harbor Commission. And, use that as a marketing tool for ourselves or educating the public about us. So how do we move from that concept to naming the marina? I missed that transition.
Well, I don't know if there was any, it was just seemed like an appropriate thing to consider, especially given that the marina was to be rebuilt and that the process was going to start. And I might also say that, naming the boating center after an individual, Dave Donovan, I don't believe diminished the collective acknowledgement of individuals who served, since the overall park is named Veterans Park. But I don't know that there was any specific action that led us from proposing an interpretive panel to it was just something that just developed over time, and we thought that was a number of people thought it was a good idea. And again, if the commission doesn't agree to pursue it, there are others who in the community, including former members of the Harbor Commission, who intend to send letters to the mayor to support this.
But I thought this letter would come from the commission. If the commission votes not to, and for example, support that name, that certainly is, you know, sort of, you know, not a major issue, but the issue can be moved forward by other members of the community, certainly submitting a letter on his behalf. But I thought it would be a sort of a nice gesture from the commission to support, since Tony's quite a few service record on the community, on the commission itself, certainly speaks volumes of what his involvement was with regard to, you know, the harbor, not only for the visitors dock, but also in the marina itself, you know. But as I said, that was the intent basically of presenting the letter, that the commission certainly support his name.
And like Laurie said, the original suggestion was an interpretive panel, essentially similar to what we prepared for John Frank and his contribution to the Shellfish Commission, which is down by the fishing pier at Calf Pasture. That was our original proposal. And again, there was this discussion about the maintenance of the panels. And if you look at the ones that we prepared 12 years ago, they're a little dirty, but they've held up over time. But if the commission chooses not to pursue this, then others can pursue it as individuals.
But as I said, as a courtesy to Tony being a member of the commission for
Sure.
2 terms, basically, and functioning as a chair, actually certainly due his respect that from his standpoint of dredging and all the other good things that he's done in the community. That was my intent, basically, to suggest that the commission support that letter. If not, as I said, that's something that the commission needs to vote on, or should vote on. That's all.
I agree. We should vote on it. So I'll make a motion that the Harbor Commission endorse the letter that John has read into the record for Tony, for naming the East Dock after Tony Mobilia. Do we have a second?
I'll second that as well, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
A discussion? All in favor?
So here's a question: do we have proxy votes at this in a commission meeting?
No,
No,
not in our
So-
bylaws.
Okay, so Jeff's is just advisory at this point. It's not a vote.
Oh, you're talking about Jeff Mangles.
Jeff Mangles.
Yeah, Jeff, he already indicated that he could not support that, didn't he, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yes.
asking if proxy votes are allowed.
Right.
Yeah,
He's not here, so his
Right.
his thoughts have been known, but his vote, that's not a vote.
Right, that's right.
Okay, just want to clarify that. Thank you. All right, so is there any discussion?
Call a question.
Sure. All in favor? Aye.
No, I have,
Aye.
yeah,
And opposed? So 3 in
Well,
favor, 3
I'm nothing against Tony. It's just
you're
no,
opposed.
no,
Okay.
no, let's not, I don't, want to get personal with this, Alan. No, there's nothing against, no, I understand what you're saying. Nothing against him. It's how, you know, you basically would feel.
Yep.
No hard
it-
feelings against the
I
man.
just have a problem naming things after people.
No,
In general.
Sure. Discussion's over. So that's 1 nay. How many abstentions? 1 abstention, or you 2 abstentions?
Chris, I'm sorry, I'm a nay. I didn't know where.
Okay. So 3, 2, and 1. I believe that carries, right? Motion carries 3-2.
You know, as I said, that letter gets submitted and it's only a suggestion. As I said, it's not, we, you know, hopefully that the Common Council, you know, sort of will have the final say in the matter, or perhaps
Sure.
our probably has the final say in the matter. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work from here.
And the mayor.
And the mayor too, and the mayor's option too.
Okay.
So what are we going to do? Is this a commission?
I'm going to submit a letter to the mayor.
And who are the ayes on that vote?
Well, I
You, right, John
Myself,
and Chris? Oh, and I'm sorry, I don't see your little smiling face there, Matt. So
yeah, sorry, still in the car.
yeah, I know. I get it. Yeah, don't put on the dash cam, please.
No, believe me, I'm still sitting in traffic on the George Washington.
Oh, no.
No.
That's 4+ aggravation. I'll tell you, I've been there. Anyway. All right, well, the letter, Alan, I'll send a copy to the mayor. That's about it. And again, it's just a recommendation, that we're.
No,
that we're
it's
No, I certainly appreciate, all the, the comments that were made. And as I said, I know we're only probably one of probably several of individuals that were probably going to be submitting a letter on either his behalf or someone else's behalf, for that matter. So.
John, what are we going to name after you?
Nothing rhymes with Pinto. No.
about Pinto Park. Pinto Park with the
I can't do
with
it.
a smokestack.
No, I have a pony named after me, and I had a car named after me, so it's not.
You do have a car. There's a lot of profit there, too.
No,
Over the years.
yeah, but just don't rear end it. No.
All right.
I
Anything
also have a
else?
bean, for that matter.
What's that?
I also have a bean. Pinto bean. But enough is enough.
All right. Is there anything else anyone wants? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second. Aye. Thank you all for your persistence and participation. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Amelia.